All
All right,
right,
well,
Scott. Oh,
we did it.
ah,
We could have
ah,
done so much better than that. We're gonna have to work on our timing.
I know. Actually, that was a perfect beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Hello and welcome to Town Hall number 21, I think, right? This week, we're gonna have the Platform OS community kind of show off what they've been working on. So sort of like a show and tell style meeting, if you will. I'm sure many of us have like the same type of projects that we're working on. So I think it's probably, I think it'll be helpful for us to see other projects that people are working on. So we're not so siloed. And I think that will do a lot of good things. One, kind of showing what's possible. Two, if you have any questions, like maybe you're working the same thing, so you could be like, oh, how did you do that? But also for the person who's sharing, right? They can provide feedback. You can provide feedback for them, and then they will be able to use that to improve what they're doing. So I think this should be an ongoing thing. Probably not every week, right? But maybe once a month or every 2 months, people just share what they're working on. And I don't think you need to have like a full presentation, right? You don't need to have a full project. You don't have to finish something. It doesn't have to be completely done. You could just have one little section that you've been working on and just kind of show it off to people. So with that, I'm going to go first, and then we're going to have some other people jump in. So just give me a second. Okay, so in Business Catalyst, years ago, I created a learning management system, and I completely hacked it, right? Every trick, every hack you could do in Business Catalyst, I pretty much did to make an LMS. And on the front end, it worked really well, right? I mean, if you looked at the code, it was probably, a ridiculous amount of liquid markup to make a lot of things work. But I could get most of it to work the way I wanted to. In the admin, though, was more of the problem, right? We didn't have full control over the admin with Business Catalyst. I did create some, admin apps to help out with the learning management system, but it really just wasn't set up, and it's really difficult to manage in the admin. So I am rebuilding it in PlatformOS and improving it. It's like a 2.0. And I'm really excited about it just because there's so much you can do in PlatformOS. You don't have to do all the hacks that we did in Business Catalyst. And so one of the things that I'm working on is roles, right? Or user profiles, as we call them in PlatformOS, but I still call them roles because I'm a Business Catalyst person, and that kind of makes sense in my head. So this is just the beginnings of this part, right? So these are users. These are obviously test users in the system. And I want to show you the roles, but I'll just kind of show you this part of it just so you can see how it works. I won't fill in everything else just so we can get it going. And so when the user is created, what I really wanted was for the admin to be able to control the roles right in where you'd be editing or creating the user. So in this case, I have a whole bunch of roles. And in the end, not all of these will show. Like default doesn't necessarily have to show. Again, I'm still building it, so that's why I'm kind of showing everything here. But I really like the idea of having, being able to select the roles right in the contact. And so that's what I've been working on, is how to sort of wrap my head around roles in PlatformOS. And so, it's not, once you figure it out, it's actually pretty easy, right? So I just selected those roles, and let's refresh, and you can see that it remembers them. So now it's really easy to be able to, have them be able to see things, have different experiences depending on what role they have. Are they an admin? Are they like a student? Or are they an instructor? Are they just an observer? Are they just support? And now just checking to see what kind of role they have, they can have a complete different experience in here. and it's not a separate area, right? So once you go into the admin and go to that user, you can instantly see what they are. That's why I kind of like having it right there. Now, the final product won't have it looking like this. There's obviously a lot more to a contact, the detail page, than just this. But that's basically what I've been working on. When I first started, I didn't really understand how I was going to set up roles, because the roles also determine what kind of fields they see, right? So I won't get into any of the code or anything, but we think we should have probably a town hall on how these work, how the roles are sort of set up, and where fields should be put, and in what order, and that sort of thing. And that's pretty much it. The only thing really else that I had to say that I've done is I recently started. Let's do it this way. Working with company, like how do you connect a company to a user? And the way I'm setting it up, which is different than some of the other ways you could be doing it, or some of the other ways other people have done it, is I'm making companies customization, which is sort of like a web app. And that way you can have as many companies associated to the user as you would like. It's easier that way. At least I hope so. And it's really cool that you could actually do this as you create the contact. You could, you could add a whole bunch. If I had like a little plus button here and you hit plus, I could make a whole bunch of company fields and add multiple companies all at once. And it's kind of just an interesting, and it's a little bit more flexible than, let's say, in Business Catalyst or in other systems. So the way you kind of set things up is important. So it's been really fun trying to figure that out. Really, the only other thing I'd say about this is that I am using Vue.js, which has been different for me. I never used Vue.js when I was using with Business Catalyst. So I decided, there's so much to learn with PlatformOS. I decided to add another level to it and learn Vue.js all at the same time, just to make my life that much more interesting. And maybe we'll do another town hall later about Vue.js. I see a chat, but I don't even know how to get that. So why don't I?
You're a masochist.
Good. I've been called worse, so that's not too bad. So I'm going to stop sharing, and if no one has any questions about that, I will hand it off to the next person. Daniel, are you ready? Daniel Telfer is going to, here we go.
Yeah, so I'm ready. I don't have to show what Scott's shown. I have been moving across a Business Catalyst template. So pretty simple. It's just my personal website for my graphic design business. And literally I've just been moving it across. So I'll share my screen and I'll show you what I've got, what I had and what I've got now, and what I've been doing. Okay, can everyone see my screen? You see my screen, Scott? Oh, yeah. Cool. So yes. This is my website on BC. It's pretty simple. It's a BC Guru's template. Originally, I didn't have heaps of time to do it, so I started with template, and it looks, it looks fairly nice. So I've moved it across to, or I've started moving across to PlatformOS, and I have this. So as you can see here, this is the same as the top part here with the sliders. I haven't built out the sliders yet. What I could have done is I could have just come on and I could have just inserted the data manually and had this up and running pretty quickly. So it's probably taken me, it probably took me, and amongst doing other things, say 3 or 4 hours to get it to this point here visually. So when I brought it across, I just moved stuff across into the right directories, and it wasn't too tricky, you know, like it wasn't the end of the world. Next, I'm starting to go through and doing forms. So at the bottom of this one here, I've got a form. One thing that on Business Catalyst is capture. I didn't like, I didn't want to use capture, and Google have what's called invisible capture. So I wanted to use invisible capture for a long time. I actually, on BC Gurus, I actually created a tutorial regarding creating some security around that without having to have capture on it. In this case here, of course, in PlatformOS with the ability to do much more, we can have invisible capture. So you can see, hopefully you can see down the bottom right hand corner here, we've got the little capture symbol, but we don't have the big, you know, tick box that you would normally have with capture. So capture's there, but it's just, it's linked to this button, to the send button. So when I send it, doesn't look like anything happens, but capture is there in the background. Now that's something we could never do on BC because basically we obviously had the functionality that they allowed us to use, and there was no way to step outside the box. Next things I'm working on is the web apps. Now, I don't have much to show here with regards to that. I am learning how to do the code part of it, how it all fits together, and everything like that. So it's taken me a lot longer to get to do that part, but it is coming together. And like Scott said, you can see the potential that this has, how much you can do, the hacks that you had to do on BC that you don't have to do anymore. And probably the other thing that I've got to show is what I've been doing, and I've kind of showed this a little bit before, is the little tools and little tweaks that I've made to make things a little bit simpler for myself. So I'm using Visual Studio Code, and you know, to not really show the code, but I've got snippets. So if I want to do an include, I can put an include on here and type in what I've got. So in terminal, instead of having to type marketplace kit, I can just type POS because it seems to make more sense to me, and sync staging. And now I can see when I save this here, I can see all my stuff going to going up to PlatformOS. So those are the bits. I'll be doing a lot of bits in between. Haven't really got to the end. Probably could have if I wanted to, but I'm trying to learn all the bits in between, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's pretty much me.
Awesome. Yeah, especially adding the POS in there. I might steal that, make it a little bit shorter.
Yeah. Not a fast typer, so it's good to, you know, like cut out all the extra little, all the extra button pushes that you can get.
All right. Well, thank you, Daniel. If you stop sharing, we'll have Nico come in here and show what CBO has been working on. You ready, Nico?
Yes. How do I?
It's probably on the bottom. You looking for share screen?
Share.
There we go. We can see all your messages.
Here. So what we have here is the Insights admin, and we're going to demo the admin user feature. So in this feature, the user can add admins that will manage the site. So for example, we can add user like Jan Doe and Jan Doe. There. And to be added here, and John Doe can now log in with the Insights admin and manage the site. Then can also edit the user.
I'll be giving John Doe a call.
Yeah. So there you go. As a phone number now. Then it also supports multiple deletion or bulk actions. Like that. So there, managing admin users is very easy with the Insights admin. Yeah. So that's it for the admin users feature of Insights admin. So
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That looks great. It looks really sharp. Hey, I have one quick question for you, and you don't have to get too nerdy. We can take it offline if you want. But when you do the delete more than one user, are you using more than one API call, or is there some way of kind of deleting users, more than one users at the same time?
we are looping the API call.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So far, I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yes.
Just so I guess we're open sourcing this as well. This is part of our first 2 milestones that we're giving away for free. So we're hoping that this will also help people get up to speed with PlatformOS and be able to add their team, because that was one kind of little frustrating thing for us, is to be able to, once you set up the instance, how do you install a user interface, and then how do you get people added to it? So we'll be sharing this code with everybody.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like it's really coming along.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nico. And you're still sharing your screen, just FYI.
How can I?
How embarrassing. Oh, man.
Stop. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Who's next?
Is Omar in the room? I hope so.
Here.
All right, Omar, you ready for us?
Yep.
We're ready for you.
All right. So what we have here is the front end of a Bootstrap 4 template, and we're gonna take a look at the back end using the admin that we're building, which we will be releasing within September. So just want to show you some features that we have. When we do the site build, for example, we start with the layouts. So in this case, we copy and pasted from the HTML the layouts, and then for the content for the pages, similar to BC, PlatformOS uses content for layout, and then we did adjustments on the sources for CSS, adding the asset URL as well as for the JavaScript. So once you have that, you have a working layout. Then we can take a look at pages. So the home page, for example. So for example, I have here, let's make use of partials. Let's try to look for a text here. Where was that? Purpose, ready to portfolio, about section. Okay, let's take out this piece of text and make it available to be editable. Let's take a look. Let's go to partials. Let's create a new partial. Let's name it text description for video. Place it there. Submit. So then we can go back to our page 329. Here, and then replace it with text for video. Yep. Save it. So it'll still be there, the text. So that's for pages, layouts, and partials. And I want to show how we create forms. So let's say contact us, resource owner, anyone. Next, so let's say name, form, true, and then here we can define the wrapper for this element. And the name is the name. Let's say email, form control, email, sage, form, true. So once we have this defined, we can go next, and there's a generated code, and we can also edit the code. And once this is good to go, can save it and then go back to the pages and then insert the form. Where is the form? Yep. So take this out. Forms, contact us, page. So now we have the form on the page. So another feature here is we have models like for web apps, and then so it's similar to creating the form, but then the question is how do we insert this into, when we create web apps, how do we insert this into the page? So we created a query builder. so that we don't have to deal with GraphQL. Let's say benefits for the benefits custom model. Where is it? Here it is. So what do I want to display? The name, the text, the icon, and then next. So I can choose a filter or to sort or choose properties to filter. But in this case, I'm not filtering anything. I just want to get everything. So now this is now the GraphQL query, and this is the results on the right-hand side. So I can now go to create the liquid. So the result name is benefits that underscore results. Then based on the right hand side, we place customizations and then that results. And then and for so now the inside is copy. So we have here, I want to replace the name, which is this one. So item that name, this is item dot text, and then this one is item dot icon. So with this, we have created the GraphQL query and then manipulated it using the results using Liquid, and then we can submit. Once it's submitted, we can go back to the pages and then go to the benefits section. Which is this one. One, two, one, two. So I can now insert my GraphQL benefits there. So the objective we had for building the admin was to have something that would abstract the YAML and GraphQL so that we only need to deal with Liquid. And this is the first phase of our admin, and succeeding phases would include enhancements on the CRM. So basically now we just have the basic users, orders, cases, and then we're gonna also have a native integration with SendGrid. into Platform OS with email campaigns. This is for our next sprint, and we used a UI that's familiar, looks very familiar, looks very busy. So that's what those are some of the features of our admin. And if you want to schedule a further guide or walkthrough, you can, whoops, where's the chat? I'll stop sharing first. I can find the chat box.
Yeah, that looks really good, Omar. You guys have obviously put a lot of work into that. So it seems like the first step is to make it easier for your developers, right? So they won't have to like use the YAML or anything like that. They just have to, they have a GUI, but they still sort of have to know what the fields mean, right? Because that's a part of it too.
Yeah.
And so the second phase would be to make it a little bit more easier for everyone else on the team.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
So we're also, since we're gonna be releasing this admin within September, we're also offering some packages to migrate from BC to Platform OS. So I placed the links on the chat if ever anyone's interested.
Very nice. So you'll be offering this admin to the public or to PlatformOS partners?
Yes, with some small fee on top.
What a fee for us! I thought we were friends. No, yeah, understandably, right? Because you're putting there's a lot of value in that. So how's that going to work? Do you know? Are you going to like basically install it for people, or will that be like a module through PlatformOS?
What we're waiting on is the public-private folders. So once that is installed, it's you can use have the features of the admin, but it won't be visible through other partners portal.
All right, say that once again.
So it's installed through the partner portal, so you won't be able to access the private files.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
It's a module.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's obviously the best way to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see when that all comes together, the module system.
Yeah. Any questions?
We had someone ask, can you show us the SEO, Facebook, and Twitter tabs on the page? Were those just for UI or are those actually functional?
So when we input the description, these are for the OG metadata, and the same thing as Twitter. So once they fill it up, we generate the metadata and put it on the head.
So it's like the open graph?
Yes, yes.
Gotcha. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Omar?
Just if he's always been so cool. But the answer is yes.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that you guys are tackling forms because that can't be easy, right?
Yes, it's actually the most complex part here.
Right. And you went for it first.
Yeah, there's
It's like
addresses.
going for the throat.
Yeah. So as we build more and more Platform OS sites, we will be refining the admin so that our objective really is to make it easy for developers and administrators, and at the same time preserve the flexibility of the platform, so you can do what it's meant to do.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, right? Because you'll actually be using it in real world scenarios, right, with real sites. So you'll obviously be building things that everyone will probably need.
All right. Thank you guys for the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Omar. Okay. Those were the only like preset partners that we're going to show off some stuff. Is anyone brave enough just to jump in on the fly to show us what you've been working on?
What are you saying? This was scripted? None of this was real?
We had actually Omar is really an actor, and that was all
Not so.
all
I
planned
thought
out.
so. He's way too handsome to be a partner.
Are you hitting on Omar?
Yeah. My wife's not here, so.
I see. Reality TV. All right, so nobody jumped in, which I kind of guessed would happen, but I wanted to give the opportunity. So if you ever do have something cool that you want to show, just reach out to us, and we'll set up another meeting like this where you can jump in, or probably at any town hall. If it's not a full meeting, you could probably just kind of show us something if you want. All right, so
we'd love to discuss the that roles and permission structure, I guess, to try and fit that into our admin.
Sure.
Because we're adding, you can add and remove users and edit their details, but that permission structure thing is really, we're trying to figure that out as well, on how to best structure that. Because if you have, let's say, a custom role, you want to be able to tick a whole bunch of things. So that then you need to set up the platform to be run with certain tags or modules so that you can actually say, all right, this person with these credentials is allowed to access that portion. So depending on how you set it up, whether it's predefined as like a content or an admin or a super admin, there's different ways to structure it, like you were saying. So it's something that we're trying to tackle as well, to figure out, well, the first part is adding a user, and then the second part is how do you structure that. Like BC had done a pretty good job, I think, with the view, ed, add, delete structure that that you could put on most sections within the platform. And whether do we go down that path or do we do something different or customizable? So yeah, I'd love probably to have a follow-up on that one and how we can include that. If I don't know whether you're going to show everybody your code or what you're going to do with that with your LMS, because we're also building another LMS on PlatformOS. This will be version 3, I guess. We've done 2 different versions previously, one PHP, then one with BC using AWS, and now this third one will be POS 100%.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to show what I've been doing, and if you guys, we can sort of we can meet offline, kind of talk about it. Maybe we can even have like an open town hall on the subject. Maybe kind of sort things out first so it goes well. But yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to figure out the best way, if there is a best way of handling all of that. I have some ideas already because I've sort of spent some time working on it. But yeah, collaborating would definitely be the way to go.
Yeah, awesome. And I had one question for Omar. Was your code directly on the instance?
Yes.
Yeah, because we're looking at that now. Like we're actually going to go through a repo, and I'm just curious to know how people are managing code, and I guess people are used to the BC way of directly editing the code on the instance, and whether we should look to change that or keep it the way it is. Because then if you have someone working in a editor, does that then conflict with what someone's doing on the web version? So we're coming up against those things too, trying to figure a strategy around that.
Yeah, I'm interested to know also. PlatformOS, they allowed us to download the files within the instance. So probably there's a way to automate that so we can automate backup for clients as well. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, and the file manager is the big question mark as well, right? How do you manage files? Although I think Cyclide seem to have smashed that out of the park. I think they've solved that.
I think there was a release on how to directly upload files on Amazon. So I think that's the way to go.
Is SiteGlide here?
From what I understood, you need to attach it to a user. Was that a correct assumption?
You have to attach a page to a user? Is that what the question is?
A file. So if you want to upload something, can you just upload it into the bucket, S3 bucket, or does it actually have to be attached to something as a user profile?
I think you can
or a model.
Yeah, you can upload it, and then the resource owner is anyone. So it can be applicable to CSS, JavaScript images.
As long as you upload it, though, it wouldn't matter whether or not it was attached in some way, shape, or form, because then you would know who uploaded it. So as long as anyone can access it, then who uploads it, it's only a matter of them being able to see who it was that actually did that. So if it was done by different people, then obviously you can say, okay, that was uploaded, it's there, it's sitting in the bucket, but it was uploaded by whoever it was. So I'm not sure whether or not that matters.
I think it just depends on how you build your system, whether or not that's going to matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but you could do it as a customization as well, I suppose. I actually came up with against a similar sort of thinking when I was trying to think about web apps and how to have a set of base parameters for the web app and then additional ones on top. So I was going to try and do it as a customization without having a user in it at all. But it seemed like what we'd have to do is then we have to use a callback and we have to fire the stuff using callback straight into GraphQL. So in a roundabout way, I've gone back to using it inside a user because that reduces having to use the callback so much. Now you still have to use it on edit, but you don't have to use it on the initial post. I've found out since talking to Scott, actually. But the yes, it's attached to a user, but that's only really a reference. From my thinking, and I might be wrong, but it's only really a reference. So that only gives the ability to go back and see where it's coming from. It doesn't necessarily impact that as long as the resource owner is anyone.
Hey, unless someone has something else to share, thought maybe I'd just take a moment and remind people that we do have a community center on Airtable right now where we do have information. There's questions and answers, and you can report bugs. I'm just going to share my screen real quick, just again just as a reminder that this is here for you. Here we go. Be good for the new people. All right, so and the link you can, if you haven't had access, then we can give you access to this. But community can get in and look at who's in the community, the different companies, what their strengths and things are, what they're offering. There's an event calendar in there that actually tells exactly, like for instance here's the town hall number 21, and you can see there's a link to it. and we only had one person who was presenting at that time, but we didn't update it with the rest, and we could do that now. And then next week we'll have a link too, but you'll see that on the last one, it actually has the actual YouTube link for it. And if you go backwards, you'll find that that's the case with the others too. So we have reference to the back ones. On this event calendar, we're also showing where Adam's going to be in Europe over the next couple of weeks, where you might actually find a time to meet with him if you wanted to. There's community projects that you can participate in, and with these, you can actually just pick a task that you want to do in order to contribute to it. For instance, I'm doing a lot of tutorials right now, and so I just create a task in here somewhere, like in uncategorized or up next, and give it a name. I decide which project it's a part of by choosing that right here, and assign it to myself, maybe give myself a due date. And when I'm done with them, I come over here. I pretty much got stopped when I got sick, so I'll continue on. But there's a place you can report your bugs if you find them, and the engineers will actually push this along to show status on it, make feature requests and questions for the community or for anybody. And they're just categorized here. You can create a new category if you want, just by going over to the create a new stack, and create a card with your question on there. And people will go in and they'll answer them. They can actually answer directly on the card by clicking here, link to a record from answers. If there isn't an answer already that goes for it, they can just click add new record. So anyway, it's a bunch of tools that we have access to, some resources which obviously only has one thing in there but needs some more. So this is our community center right now until we have the website up, and happy to give anybody access if they don't have it yet. I'm assuming I was unmuted that whole time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Could you start over? Yeah, no, that looks really good. How the videos coming? I know you've been sick, so you probably don't want to do videos while you're sick.
No, actually, they stopped. I've been sick for 2.5 weeks, and that's exactly how long the videos have been stopped. But I got, I think, 8 videos made.
Nice. Awesome.
And I took it through, and you can actually see, I ended up putting the link to the videos on inside of them when I was done. So you can go look at them there, and then we'll figure out a place to put them. But yeah,
We'll find the documentation.
Yeah, and then I have a whole bunch more to do. We have chat going on. Is that about what I'm talking about?
People would love to have access to it.
Okay.
Do you need our emails to give access is the question.
I will just give you, just do the share link, and I'll just put it in the chat for people.
Yeah, that's probably the best way. Awesome.
Okay, and do remember that, I didn't show the people tab on here. I've done it before on these, but I recognize that this video goes out, and whoever sees it, I know it's not listed on YouTube or anything, but since there is partner like emails and stuff on there, I figured I'd just be a little sensitive. So also be sensitive with, just making sure that you're careful about who you're letting in. Just make sure they're actually part of the community.
Yeah, that's a good warning.
All right. Well, Scott, what do you think?
I think it's great. It's a good temporary place until we have our official community center.
No, I meant there's no more talks. So what do you think?
I know. That's why I was filling it with
Should
that.
we end it?
No. So if we're going to do some reminders, then we should say that next week you should definitely come back to town hall. we're going to be focusing more on business-oriented topics, like how would you talk to a customer differently for a PlatformOS project versus a business catalyst project. So there's going to be things like that going on next week. So it probably won't be too nerdy, right? I know these meetings sometimes get a little code nerd, but yeah, next week is going to be more business and practical things for project managers, business owners, salespeople, and I think it's probably good for anybody in this room right now. Or says looking at marketplaces would be fun. Yeah, that'd be cool. We should set up a town hall for that as well. Make it marketplace focused. So yeah, definitely come back next week. We'll put out a link and everybody will know about it. And with that, does anyone have anything else? No? All right, great. I will see everybody next week. Well, only if you show up, which I hope you do. All right, Barry, you gonna give us some sort of outro?
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us for Town Hall 21. Come back next week for Town Hall 22. Same bat time, same bat station. See you then. Showing my age, by the way.
That was perfect.